Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. In this video, I'm guided to talk about the latest revelation or topic on which I worked today. As I am closing up karmic cycles and focusing on my DNA healing, and of course on moving on my in my new beginning. What happens at these phases usually, as I said in another video, is that things come together. So this is a time related process in which you must understand the higher perspective over things. God is revealing to you as you do your work. And of course, karma is being delivered, justice is being made. God is revealing to you things, or I wouldn't say things which you didn't understand, but parts and bits of broader picture of things which you might have understood before, but not to that extent. So now basically it all comes together full circle, and you understand things basically tie up tie up loose ends. This is what God is saying to me. So in this video I am guided to explain the latest topic on which I worked as a spiritual investigation, and I learned the divine truth through divine revelation from God. Essentially, this is about how convents work, these satanic cults. And they're not only satanic, God always points out to me. There are different cults which worship different type of deities, different type of forces, and so on. And this will bring together many of the topics of prophetic writings that I've done and videos that I've done in my work of spreading the word of God and divine wisdom about spiritual fighting. It's clear that somebody is unhappy with me talking about this. That's why my throat chakra is acting so much. So let's dive directly into the topic. Essentially, these cults, God has shown me that essentially they practice a certain type of religions, like voodoo, hoodoo, Santeria, religions based on spirituality, or religion based on sacrifices and offerings, on sympathetic magic, basically. And the essence of these cults, the practice goes that each individual, each member of these cults keep sacrificing people. So they are requested, this is part of the membership request, to bring names of people to be sacrificed. The core of that religion, of those religious or religious spirituality, God says, religious spirituality. And the essence of that is that they must bring sacrifices. This is how they are created. This is how they work. And what they do, they bring lists of individuals, names of people, from family, from colleagues, from work, from neighborhood, from everywhere, people about whom they make certain declarations. These declarations are most often lies, complete lies. Sometimes they are distorted truth. Something, they must bring the name and some type of accusation based on which a judgment is being done on them by that community. They are being condemned and punished, and the punishment is the sacrifice itself. But what I want to point out is that essentially they come together in these organizations to create these sacrifices, and everything else falls into place. All the logic is being built upon this goal which they have, namely to sacrifice people. So because they must sacrifice people, essentially they start coming up with lies about individuals, about humans whom they must, or animals sometimes, God says, which they must sacrifice. And they conduct this sort of like a church, really like a church. I have seen many times throughout my spiritual fighting many parts of their ceremonies. God has shown me how it works, and really it works like a church. You know, they even have costumes which they wear, and they really worship these forces. They have rituals, ceremonial rituals, which they do. For example, if they make a sacrifice of you or of death, they will create a ritual of you being buried, essentially. And somebody is playing, is role playing you. Somebody says, you know, this seems crazy, but this is how it works. They basically play your role, and they literally lie in a coffin, like literally like a burial, you know. This is the death sacrifice, but there are many other sacrifices and different other punishments which they create, depending on whatever type of force they worship. And based on that, on these rituals and judgment and so-called punishment, different type of darkness attack is being sent upon you. They they have priests. They literally function like a church, and they create prayers in order to enforce this punishment on you. And these prayers, essentially, in fact, there are spells, incantations, curses, which are done in group prayer. Exactly like we worship God in church. They do the same, but in their own sick-minded logic, which basically translates at the end of the day in a gang-stalking activity based on religious fundaments, which is essentially witchcraft at the end of the day, because they have so many dark practices which they carry on. And they create these ceremonial rituals in order to carry on. They meet at a certain times. They create this, and they agree on a plan on how to do all of these curses, sorcery, necromancy, and all of these attacks. And all of these basically are derived from this judgment and punishment on individuals, and these sacrifices which they basically create. And they decide sometimes to work simultaneously, and this is when they become essentially gang-stalking group based on religious fundaments, or sometimes they work successively, like in turns, to keep you under attack for either that they want a very strong intensity of attack, they come together, attack you simultaneously, or they work in turns to keep a continuous pressure of darkness attack on you. And this, you must understand, as they created the ceremonial ritual and they made the sacrifice to that force, there is a certain timeline in which they must accomplish that. If they promised your death, or they promised your soul, or they promised something related to you, they make many promises, even for example, with sexual practices, with death practices, and so on, then they must achieve that, because otherwise the force, that force which they worship, comes to collect, be it Satan, be it whatever other forces they Anunnaki and many other forces, transgenders, androgens, and so on, other forces from outer cosmos. These are rules and norms of convent functioning. How should convent should function, and there are many in this at this point in time, and they work essentially with specific institutions. They are related to different environments: business environment, political environment, governmental environment in all countries. And for example, they receive rewards for this. They receive money, literally, they are paid to do this. They receive status, position, being promoted at the work job. And for this, they have literally, God has shown me this for a long time now, that they literally have like a certain number of individuals that they have to sacrifice for each type of reward which they seek to get: a house, a land, money, a car, job related position, and so on. So they know exactly how many people they need to sacrifice in order to achieve whatever they want to achieve in material terms, and they just simply carry it on. It's basically for them it's an entire logic of being, of existing and functioning. So this is their this is their job for most of them. They actually carry this if they don't succeed to achieve what they offered, what they sacrificed, what they promised, then that force will come after them. So at that point in time, it becomes a survival type of fight between you and them. You fight to survive because you're innocent and they have done this upon you, and they fight to survive because they done this to you, and because they didn't succeed to complete it, then the dark force comes after them. So for them at that point in time, it becomes a survival thing. But it's a survival thing because they created it. Nobody forced them to create this. So yeah, it's a little bit twisted logic, but there is a logic. I must tell you that there's always a logic. I specialized in defense and war strategies and so on. And I will tell you that no matter what kind of attack, even in 3D, if it's a war or a criminal, or doesn't matter, they always have their own logic, which you must understand. This is the same with these convents. We must understand because they work against us. So we must understand how this comes about, how it works. But we must understand so we can understand what we are actually facing. Because we only know parts of it, and then of course you cannot be successful in defending yourself if you don't fully understand what's going on. And as I said, they pray together, but their prayers essentially are in order to bring into being that sacrifice. So basically their prayers are curses at us, incantations, spells, and all sorts of other type of invocations and so on. All sorts of darkness being sent, basically spells and so on. Now, this is very important to understand, because this is why I kept saying you must claim justice, judgment, and punishment from God. Because when this is being done behind scenes in the dark, you don't have all the information from the very beginning. Like I show you now, I started writing about this in January 2019. I was faced with this since the beginning of 2018. I started learning about what is being done, and I started the prophetic writings in 2019, 1 year later. And I've been writing since then, but it's only now that actually I have the full picture, because I had to break certain bondages and to take upon me certain embodiments in order to break those bondages so God could reveal all of this information to me. I only learned about convents recently. I didn't even know about their existence, actually, to be very honest. So this is what I want to emphasize, that I survived so long in this fight, and I got to the end of the fight when I won, and this could be revealed to me only because I claim justice, judgment, and punishment from God. Because when this is done in the dark and behind scenes, you don't know, and a dark force comes at you and you don't know how to defend yourself. So claiming justice, it's a survival thing for you, the one that is being attacked. So this is extremely important, and I always said this: you should never worry about claiming justice, judgment, and punishment, because if you have faith in God, you know God will not punish anyone who's not guilty, no matter what you say and what you do. God is always fair. But even more, if somebody, for example, is innocent, because you must know that in these kind of works, sometimes there are people, God has shown me throughout time, that there are people who sign into these organizations without fully understanding what is going on. And they essentially just sign because of greed, for money, for status, for whatever. God shown me that many of them don't fully understand for a long time what is going on. But when they sign up in these convents, they essentially are requested to give full authority to the convent over their own family. So, for example, a family member could sign up into these organizations and sign these papers giving full authority to that convent over all members of his family, or doing sacrifice rituals over the members of the family, you know. And you don't really, and maybe some of them don't really fully understand what's going to happen to that individual. And claiming justice, judgment, and punishment, that gives the opportunity to God to reveal to, and this is a helping hand you are giving to someone who's not that it's not that guilty. He doesn't do it with full awareness of what are the consequences. And you give the opportunity to God to actually show to that individual and also show to you how guilty is that individual. So justice, judgment, and punishment from God essentially sheds light on everything. And this is really important, because many times things are not just white and black. Things are more complicated sometimes. And that is a helping hand and a chance for God to actually reveal the truth. And many times, the kind of punishment God would give to one of these individuals could be, I'm sure it's not as dramatic as the impact of that force coming after the same individual. Mind you, that individual brought the force himself by signing these papers, making fake declarations. When we're talking about making fake declarations, these are also the claims, the illegal claims they made on different humans, men and women. They literally, I wrote in my prophetic writings, they literally make claims on women. When I started my spiritual fighting in 2018, God shown me that I had 48 or 49 claims made on me by men with whom not only I never had a relation, I never slept with, most of them I never met in my life. I never met them. Some of them were married with family. Some of them were politicians that I saw on TV, but I never had any kind of relation with them. And they do this because through those judgments, they steal your rights, you know, and they then make sacrifice rituals at you, or they even make, and this God has shown me, for example, that many, that they have a ceremony, they make claims on you as a woman, I'm saying, but I'm giving this example as a woman because I'm a woman, but God has shown me that they have done this for men as well, you know, like men claiming other men in countries where homosexuality is allowed. And for this reason, essentially the sacrifice is that it forces, they send darkness upon that man to transform him into homosexual, although he's not naturally, you know. But let's talk about women. So they make this claim on a woman, and then they have a ceremony in which the wedding, takes place. The wedding takes place. So a woman, it's a doppelganger, as you call it, and she dresses like you. She claims to be you, and she goes through a wedding ceremony in your name. God has shown me this from 2018. This, I was so outraged when I saw this. I cannot explain to you. And I have seen the individuals who have done it. And this is happening to many people, and they keep these documents in certain secret archives, you know. So there are somewhere, and based on that claim made on you and that fake wedding, of which you were not aware, you were never asked, you never found out about it. Some other people did role playing in your name, and they created a wedding. They actually create wedding certificates in your name, and they keep them somewhere hidden. And based on that, they steal your rights because they say, I'm her husband. What the fuck you mean? I never met those men in my life. How is he my husband? And how the fuck would be 49 men a husband of a single woman? You know, this is completely crazy. But this is what they do, literally. This is what they do. And based on that, they say, I have rights over her rights. They look into your natal chart, and in your natal chart, you have foreseen certain abundance, certain fame, certain positions in job-related, whatever, different things. And they claim those. They say, she's my wife, so I will take this. And they take your rights from the natal chart, and then they split them among themselves. And some of those rights go to different individuals from the organization. Some of the rights go to the individuals who actually carry on the gang stalking, which they call prayer. But that's not a prayer. Excuse me. That is not a prayer. That's gang stalking and black magic. Yeah, so this is how it works. So there are many rituals, many type of sacrifices, because personally this kind of fake wedding created upon me, I consider it also a sacrifice. That's not a wedding, that's not a marriage, that's nothing. That's some crazy lunatics which do this. And you must understand, when they do this, they send upon you a certain number of work with darkness in order to create that one. Or if they don't want to create that because they couldn't want to create 49 marriages at me simultaneously, you know, it's not possible even, they send this darkness to you to lower your vibration that much. So basically you will not discover what is being done to you, you know. In some cases, extreme cases, they sent, and they did that to me as well, they sent darkness to you, hoping to sort of make you look crazy. So they will put you in some sort of medical center, and then they can use your energy, your rights, your everything, basically. Essentially, they cover up in the most criminal ways what they are doing to make sure that you will never find out and you will never be able to fight against it, because of course there's a lot of punishment coming their way when they are discovered. But this is being done on a massive scale. You must understand, this is being done when you claim justice, judgment, and punishment. God will reveal to you what was done on you. This is extremely important, so you can actually fight against it. God will show you who has done. Much of this information is being concealed. They have different type of ceremonies and different type of work with darkness, which I described in my prophetic writings, which precludes you to find out. God knows about this, but He will find a way. God will find a way to show you enough information so you can fight. And when you close the cycle, like I did now, you will find out the rest of the details, which will come together, all the information. If you look through my prophetic writings, you will see that I wrote about stolen wedding vows since the beginning of 2019, because I was, of course, outraged, because I was completely single and living in a celibate, and all of a sudden I learned that there are a bunch of men who are claiming to be with me. Some of them claim to be married with me, some of them claimed just to have relations with me, and I had nothing to do with any of them. So of course I was outraged, and especially when I understood the entire logic which God explained to me at that point, that they do this to steal your rights and to block your gifts, because once they send all that darkness upon you, you're not able to learn who you are, what kind of gifts you are, what purpose you have in spiritual terms, and so on, you know. So I hope God has pressed me to write about it immediately after He revealed this to me. As I said, if you go through my prophetic writings, you will see that 98% of this information is already written since years, because it was revealed to me from the beginning. But this part of being organized in a religious system and to put it together just like a religion, like a church, like this seems to me so sick-minded. So this was revealed only now, and this a bit shocking, and probably God wanted me to go through my own spiritual fighting and mature enough in these terms until I can actually cope with this information. I guess this is why he showed me so late this part, but you will find the information and by the way, as I said, there are individuals from church as well. This I know from 2018, because God has shown me that these rituals, for example, were done. For example, in 2008, there were many sacrifice rituals done on me with death, and one of them in 2019, God has shown me, was done by the monks at the monastery next to where I live, Chernica monastery. So I knew this. I actually saw it. God showed me exactly how they created a coffin, and they put a doll with my face there, and literally like a burial and stuff like this. I actually went to the church then, and I claimed justice on all of them and punishment. But I hope this information will reach the proper individuals who actually can make justice and stop these crazy bastards. This goes back to a bondage created by Solomon, who actually invented the norms and rules of convents in his time. So you will know, I'm guided now to say this. So I guess those who will work with this information to take it further and to make justice will use this maybe to do more research on it, or maybe, I don't know, as I'm shown by God probably, to further investigate the type of practices that you are being involved in your own organizations, because many of them, God says, have roots in this, have roots in, they have the foundation, the roots in this, what I'm explaining now, the practices which other organizations are using. So they're related. They are related. What I'm getting from God is that the practices these other organizations are engaging and employing, they have direct correlation and foundation in these convent norms. And I think God refers to, for example, including practices of tantric practices, for example, and many other practices, depending on who you worship. Shiva, and so on. All of this, God shows to me that have roots in this convent logic and norms. Yeah. Okay, so I hope you'll find this useful. I really, really hope that you will actually take the advice and claim justice, judgment, and punishment. I said in another video, if you have a blockage in doing so, you can claim justice. You don't have to go and say punishment in the beginning if you don't feel comfortable with it. I do this, for example, with people that are very dear to me, like my father. You know, when he does something and I feel like I have to clarify, I just claim justice, and then God just reveals to you. And then if it's a case that you need to claim punishment and so on, you can do a judgment and so on, you can do it. But you should try to do this, because this is the only way you can actually find out what is being done on you. And because they done this as a sacrifice and as a judgment on you, they essentially are overriding the usual spiritual fighting. Okay, because the individuals involved in this, they have a justice structure system in astral level. They God says they how you say this? Oh, they recruit and co-opt into their convents individuals with decision-making power in justice system, in astral and in material existence, in such a way so their decisions will weight much more than it would if, you know, would be just the convent with normal unknown people. So these judgments which they make, they have very strong leverage in sending very, very strong attacks. Okay, and that includes using technology on attacking you. That includes including placing devices in astral terms upon you, which block your energy. So it makes it very, very difficult to fight. This is why I keep saying you must claim justice, judgment, and punishment. And you must do it constantly, because at each phase God will reveal to you more information. As you advance in bondage breaking, you will find out about the same topic, different parts of the truth which was hidden to you, because as I said, they have ways in which, energetically speaking, they can password and code different type of information, so nobody actually can reach it, or even if you reach it, you don't really grasp it. So they even there's instant darkness launched on you when you reach a certain topic. I have encountered this in my spiritual fighting, and I have seen it myself, the difference. Essentially, even if it's in front of you, you don't see it. So this is why claiming justice, judgment, and punishment is important, because then in that moment you will get help from God on that particular issue. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I know this will help a lot of people. I just hope that you will keep an open mind and will try, at least, you'll give it a try to claim justice from God. So He will come and to reveal to you exactly what was done on you. So you can actually use this information which I'm putting out there. Okay? Thank you for being on my channel, and if you want to support my work, you find the information to my PayPal account in the description box below. Thank you.